Hi, team. I'm going to do a 2021 year in review. So, we're looking at execution and team growth since our seed round in late October last year. So, on product and design, we've been focused on the core experience, coming into the program, doing a month and understanding how your actions affect reactions in your body and what to do about it. We've released about 50 features in pursuit of that core journey, and our NPS currently sits at about 63. David Flinner and Alan McLean, who came on this year, are running our product organization and design, and we're focusing again on closing the loop on how food affects your well-being. We're doing this in a very fast iteration approach. So you can read more about that in our velocity versus quality memo. You can look at how we're iterating towards our launch in the Levels launch plan and read more about the experimentation that we're focusing on. You can also see how we're incorporating member feedback into the journey development. And then lastly, the sort of high-level roadmap. Historically, we've been in this first month era where we're bringing people in, we're getting a lot of folks through with fresh eyes to do a 28-day experience. We've lately been focusing more on the subscription model with the intention of transitioning eventually into the membership model era, which we'll talk about in operations. With that membership model transition, we'll be focusing on adding additional services that allow us to have better resolution information about the individual. And this is blood testing, this is potentially nutritionist marketplace, but continuing to add value in addition to the CGM experience. And you can see at the bottom here the product launch highlights. So these documents help us to kind of document where we've come from and why we ended up where we are with certain features and where we're going. Highly recommend those and the other reference documents here. Jumping back and over to operations. So in 2021, we've been very focused on building the organization that is resilient to 10x, 100x scale for product launch. So forging relationships with two of the key manufacturers in the CGM industry has been a core focus, as well as operations partners like TruePill and SteadyMD, who power our fulfillment organization and our prescription process. Since we are working with regulated prescription-controlled products, it's been critical that we've been focusing there. The operations team is led by Michael Mizrahi, who we affectionately call Miz, and Josh Moorer, again, who we affectionately call JM. Both of these folks come to us with extensive startup experience, extensive operating experience, mostly through Uber, where they were able to build and scale global operations teams with excellence. And we're weaving that into the DNA of the team that we're building here. The most important way to highlight this is really just by looking at the customer satisfaction scores that we've been able to maintain through this rapid growth. So our CSAT is over 95%, and we handle about 85+% of our contacts within an hour. You can read a subset of the thousands of similar feedback comments we're getting, and you can get a feel for how this is affecting the delightfulness of the user experience with Levels. Our waitlist has grown to 145,000, and our lifetime members, which are at currently about 14,000, have helped us develop the world's largest non-diabetic data set of its kind. And this is millions of hours of glucose data paired, most importantly, with lifestyle behaviors. So this includes nutrition logs, but it also includes sleep logs, steps, activities, and heart rate. So we have a one-of-a-kind data set, which we'll be talking about in the research section. Okay, jumping back to research. So Levels sits at an interesting location where we're at the intersection of a lot of movements from the healthcare side to the consumer product side, along with the thought leadership that we're bringing through our content and our public presence. And this has enabled us to kind of see the future in the sense that we know that there is going to be large-scale, really informative data available to us. And it's critically important that we understand what that data is telling us and incorporate it back into the product experience, as well as to push forward for social good the academic understanding of how the pathology of metabolism sets in. And so with our research program, we have this year launched 9 sponsored research studies with leading academic and industry partners, focused on understanding everything from the spectrum of how the mechanisms of metabolic breakdown occur, all the way through to the behavior change potential of the Levels product itself. And along with that, looking at ways to operationalize unique product experiences. Moving towards engineering. In 2021, the focus has really been iterating product, but also most importantly, building the team. And so we've invested heavily in adding exceptional talent, and we were able to add 12 full-time software engineers since we started with 6 in 2021. We've built a data set, a secure data set with over 100 million total health data points since we started, and 42 million of those are glucose data points, which is, again, by far the largest data set of its kind, especially in the population we're discussing. So our focus on the engineering side has been looking ahead to scaling issues, to scaling both the data processing capabilities, but also the data science team. So bringing on more talent in the data science segment and helping to use that to build out insightful features that can operationalize that massive data set and make it more useful to the end user and make it more insightful to use levels and to understand how you personally can both map yourself against the population and how to make unique change for yourself. Diving in here, Andrew Connor leads our engineering team. He brings significant experience from Google and where he was acquired from his prior company as VP of engineering. And we have, again, been building iterations into the health-related data. So scaling data processing capabilities, as I mentioned, but also building reliability. So making sure that when we ship, we learn, and when we learn, we implement process. And so our infrastructure is HIPAA compliant. It's able to process hundreds of millions of data points, and we are, again, with partnerships, building up scalability into our infrastructure. So the goal, of course, is highly reliable, scalable consumer web and mobile products. And our team brings exceptional experience with the product domain, but also the data science and machine learning domains that we're going to need in order to develop biological observability at the scale that we're talking. All right, on the content side. So one of the core initiatives or imperatives for Levels is beyond the product and engineering side, we need to get the word out about metabolism and metabolic health, generally speaking. And so since the beginning of the company, that has been a core focus. And in 2021, we were able to really drive forward with that initiative in a meaningful way and build a massively effective content generation machine. So the main highlights, we've produced 150 or more researched articles, publishing at about 2 to 3 per week. We've hit 1.5 million page views. And I really want to zoom in on the article read time of over 4 minutes on average for our blog posts. Some of these, for the longer, even more heavily researched articles, are on the order of 6 minutes. We currently have a roster of 20 professional health and science journalists, and they're continuing to build the editorial roadmap and launch that effectively. Functional leaders here, Mike Haney, editorial director, and of course Casey Means, our co-founder and chief medical officer. And content is, you can dive deep into the strategy here, but it bridges everything from the long form articles to our social media and our podcast effort. We have lots of content analytics here showing the way that we have scaled to nearly 1.5 million views since January 2020. And this is almost exclusively through the organic value of the content that we're building. Organic search is, again, it's the biggest traffic driver. It accounts for over 40% of our overall traffic. And these numbers are tremendous, but they are really representative of the quality of the content that we're distributing. So lots of detail here on the specific pieces, the different channels, the strategy that we've built, and of course, diving into the PR and press placements that we've achieved with our partnership with Jack Taylor PR this year, and our podcast tour, where we were able to secure over 100 podcasts on the order of 6 months, with another 62 in 2021. So lots of pretty significant progress there, and we'll be launching a podcast tour round 2 in the coming months. And then on the user-generated content side across social, we continue to reuse UGC in a really meaningful way. We've grown to nearly 40,000 followers on Instagram, very organically. We're not doing any advertising. This is all just through organic share and leveraging the experiences of our members as a strategy. We'll continue to invest in those channels as well as YouTube in the coming months. And as we all know, we recently launched the Levels podcast, A Whole New Level, which was an entirely organic, internal branded podcast. And we've recently grown to the top 5% of podcasts in the health and wellness space. Again, reference documents here, and I highly recommend the strategy docs that are woven into this page. Moving into growth and partnerships. In 2021, we had, again, 120 podcast placements, more than that actually. We drove $1.8 million in revenue from partnership initiatives, and we had over 300 participants in our community feedback. So building a movement, an active, engaged cult brand, what we refer to as an NPS unicorn, through our partnerships and affiliations, and of course the content placements that we're selecting. Functional leaders on the growth and partnership side are Ben Grinnell and Tom Griffin. And we're continuing to build a pull product, not a push product. So lots of great strategy in this page here, showing the flywheel effects that we're building, the content that generates awareness, that generates engagement, and how we're building not just a CGM product, but something that is built in combination with a community where people are bringing their experiences, their unique focus, and their philosophy together inside the product. And so we're reaching to all the various opportunities that we see through the different channels that we've got access to, and building a fast-moving growth strategy that is, again, focused on value and integrity and experience. Highly recommend looking into the details here in the go-to-market. We have not been in growth mode thus far, but we have seen continuous growth inside of the beta. So we're still an invitation-only experience, but at $300,000 per month of static revenue target, we've repeatedly beaten that goal just through engagements with podcast partners and affiliates. And so this has been really tremendously successful thus far, and we feel that we'll be able to really lever that up when we transition to a scalable hardware architecture that can let us move out of beta. The partnership side, we again had 120 plus podcasts released. About 35% of our revenue was generated in 2021 through those podcast appearances. And that represents about $100 CAC and 3 to 4x return. On community, lots of member feedback calls, lots of member experiences that we're building in addition to the core product experience. And we go into detail on the various opportunities that we see inside of our TAM here at the bottom. And then I highly recommend the growth takeaways and digging into the reference documents down here that show the sort of growth strategy and manifesto as we continue to move towards launch. On the legal side, in 2021, we brought on our first legal counsel in-house. So Zach Henderson has joined us as head of legal, coming from Kirkland & Ellis. He brings a really amazing ability to seize on and prioritize legal issues and help us build out across the spectrum of opportunities a rigorous strategy that meets the intentions and allows us to push forward with our business objectives. So Zach has been already, although just joining us this past month, has been a tremendous force multiplier for us and continues to bring a really incredible amount, well beyond our expectation of opportunity. So a core example here would be the hardware regulatory strategy that we're implementing, and highly recommend diving into that to see the way Zach works and the opportunities that we have ahead of us with flexible out-of-the-box legal thinking. Team and culture. So we this year have focused on continuing to build a world-class team. And so this is a very execution-focused, scrappy organization. And we've doubled our team to over 30 people, 30 full-time. We've built an advisory board with 9 industry leaders, and we've built a visible brand. And so this is an entire team effort, and you can dig into some of the details of how we've gone about building this team and how we've been intentional in our hiring practices by looking at our JDs and looking at the strategy that we've built on each of them. Our culture goes well beyond just team growth. We also invest in asynchronous by default, so making sure that we're building the organizational structure that rewards certain types of work and ensures that we are removing those outside influences that can help to distract and sort of chase the shiny objects. So documenting rigorously, providing asynchronous tools for communication, and making sure that we have a culture of integrity and transparency built, which we kind of demonstrate through the Friday forums, which have been really widely successful. Highly recommend the reference docs down here, which dig into the cultural principles we've developed and kind of demonstrate how we're doing what we're doing and why. These cultural principles documents are and videos that go with them are really quite insightful as to the types of people we've attracted and the types of cultural principles that have emerged from what we've built. Okay, and then financials. So monthly revenue increased consistently in 2021. So while we had that static revenue target, we hit a number of milestones. And for example, in 1 week, we hit over $286,000. So definitely have been able to overshoot our goals without really trying. And we've been, again, not actively in growth mode, focused on member feedback, focused on insights, focused on understanding where the product needs to go in order to answer the questions. And of course, lining up the launch objectives such that we can get across with scalability. So all things are looking good. We've generated $6 million in revenue as of August of this year. Our highest revenue month was August as well at $836,000, and we have a $2.4 million run rate for subscription revenue as of August. And we'll leave it there. So you can get all the details by clicking into those pages.